Good morning. Sorry, I'm a bit sick today, so I couldn't meet my student physically, so I have to work from home. So, dear student, you are welcome to this online session. As you remember, this is the course Teachers as a Reflective Practitioner, and particularly this course had 3 units. As you remember, we are done with the first and the second, almost the 2 units. We are on the last part of the second unit now. So we did about the characteristics of reflective teaching today. To begin with, I'm sorry for the disturbance. The first characteristics of reflective teaching is that reflective teaching has focus. So it focuses on aim and consequence of teaching. Under these points, it is important to mention that reflective teaching implies an active concern with aims and the consequences, as well as means and technical efficiencies. It is not only concern with immediate aims and the consequences. When we say it focuses on aims and the consequence, this is not its only focus, but also encompasses the responsibilities for speaking out on the basis of professional experiences, on government aims and policies. Now, reflective teaching is concerned, is responsible with the government's policies and strategies, which emphasize on education. Mainly, reflective teaching is characterized by having aim and following the consequence of the aim which was set at the beginning of the program. The second characteristic is that reflective teaching is cyclical or unspiral process, which means the states of reflective teaching has no end. Even if we say we follow this states, it is not necessarily we have to stick on the listed states, so that there is an opportunity to just repeat based on the consequence or based on the outcomes that we are facing due to the interventions that we are taking. Reflective teaching is applied in a cyclic process in which teachers mentor, evaluate, and revise their own practice continuously. In reflective teaching, we have to see the progress of the students, their improvement, to what extent our intervention, to what extent the strategy that we are applying on the students' learning is benefiting the student, to what extent the students are advantageous because of those interventions or the activities that we are performing with our students. So this characteristics refers to the process of reflective teaching and provides the dynamic basis for teacher action. So this highlights involvement in a dynamic, a continuous process, and active researching of one's own practice, leading self-mentoring and reflection and changes. So every time a reflective teacher has to evaluate, has to assess, have to take action regarding weaknesses and strengths, especially keeping up the strengths and uh, struggling to solve the problems identified, felt the difficulties, and also the weaknesses noticed in the teaching and learning processes. So this makes it uh, progressive. That's why we need our teachers to be reflective practitioners. So, as I mentioned in my speech, in reflective teaching, we follow different processes. The processes maybe it starts from planning, thinking about what we are going to do in our teaching learning process. And this planning includes identifying problems or recognizing difficulties, and not only these difficulties, but also we have to weigh up the weaknesses and the strengths that we have, so that we can use the strengths for our future actions, and also the weaknesses to solve, and also not to repeat similar mistakes. So both experiences are very important, our weaknesses, our strengths. But what is the underlying point here is our weakness needs to be improved. And after having these difficulties, or after having the plan, the starting point, we continue to identify the strategies, or what we call it making provision. This making provision means suggesting ideas, the interventions, the strategies that we are going to follow. In this regard, it is very important to have references and to see the strategies and the interventions from different angles in order to benefit the learners, as well the learning communities in general. So, what are the interventions that we are going to implement? Need to be considered next to identifying problems. The next is in the cycle of reflective teaching is acting or taking the action. This is the practical time, the practical session where we implement, where we use the identified strategies or the identified techniques that we plan to use according to the identified problems. So it is an implementation a step. In this step, it is very practical. We need the cooperation of the learners, so that we have to prepare the students to cooperate here. Next to this, it is time of collecting and analyzing evidences. In collection and analyzing evidences, we need to have the methods. We need to know how to collect. Sometimes we have to be smart in collecting evidences. Once we, for example, we can use questionnaire. Once we use questionnaire, and then after having the data through questionnaire, we should not go direct to analysis part, because we have to check the action, the outcome of the action repeatedly by different instruments, by different techniques or methods, so that not only questionnaire but also interview, document analysis, desk review, sometimes just hearing of the students meeting, maybe where they meet with their peer and discuss about hopefully about the actions that we are taking and the likes. So these are public hearings for that particular action. So the point is we have to collect valid and consistent, which can give us appropriate and accurate data so that we can go to the analysis part. And in analyzing, we have to see the unique aspects, the unique outcomes that we found from our actions, and uh, analyzing, expanding, and checking it against the different resources. We can go to the next step of reflective teaching, that is evaluating the evidences. So whether the evidence really tells what has happened or not, and also if it is not appropriate. So then the evaluation step is where we make a decision about to uh, outsource the outcome or to repeat the step by identifying where we did something wrong in the process. So evaluation is an important step. Next to this, it is reflection. At the reflection step, it is kind of disseminating, kind of telling in terms of written document or in the form of presentation or conferences. It is important to reflect, and sometimes we have to reflect for ourselves. We have to see in detail to identify critical issues, important aspects, and chronic problems that we have faced in the process. So these are the steps of reflective teaching in its cycle. The other characteristic of reflective teaching is, I'm sorry for the interruption because I'm feeling sometimes I have to cough. Sorry, I have to drink water. Requires a competence in methods of gathering evidence. As I said previously, when I talk about data collection and analysis as part of a reflective reflection in the cycle, I said we need competence, we need method, we need a skill of data gathering. We have to be very keen, we have to be very strategic in data gathering. So reflective teaching requires competence in method of evidence-based classroom inquiry. This is it is to support the progressive development of higher standard of teaching. Whenever we teach our students, we have to check that our questions, our teaching is leading the students toward this higher order thinking. It's not just knowing routines, factors, and names, and something which they can memorize, but also to analyze and also to come with novel ideas, synthesizing or creating new pointers from what they know. As a result, we need to focus on what kind of data we are going to collect, and also to check whether we are leading our students toward this higher order thinking or not. Here data gathering competence requires us to develop mainly four skills. The first one is gathering new evidence. Gathering new evidence. The second is reviewing relevant existing research or findings. The third is analytical skills. The fourth is evaluative skills. I'm going back and revise all of the four skills of data gathering competencies. To begin with, reviewing relevant existing research means to learn as much as possible from others, as much as possible. When we say to learn from others, we mean that to learn from our friends, to learn from colleagues or people who are working with us, to learn from anybody who is interested to teach us. For this, we have to be inquirer. We have to ask. We have to ask people. Not only from people, but also our reaction can be made against different reference materials, research outcomes, textbooks, and other documents can give us appropriate evidences. So gathering new evidence, reviewing relevant data helps us to understand the issue in a detailed way. And the other is gathering new evidence. This relates to the essential issue of knowing what is going on in a classroom or a school as a means of forming one's own opinion. The third one is analytical skill. This addresses the issue of how to interpret descriptive data such as factors are not meaningful unless we make a sound meaning out of them. Raw data, for example, if you collect data, numerical data, just you will have the number, not the meaning. So it is you who is the practitioner, who is the collector, the interpreter who makes meaning out of that raw data, so that we need analytical skill or a skill or ability to analyze, to interpret, to make a meaning out of the pointers. The last one is evaluative skill. This is kind of making judgment, where we make decision by understanding, by relating with the information that we have. So evaluation in the light of aims, values, and experiences of others enables the result of an inquiry to be applied to future policy and practices. You see? Teachers, when teachers are a reflective practitioner, they are not concerned about what is going on in the classroom, but also they are concerned about policies, about strategies, about what is going on about education system in general in that nation. So that having evaluative skill is very important in order to have a good ability of data gathering. The fourth characteristics of reflective teaching is the important attitude towards teaching, vital attitude. You know, uh, if we don't have positive attitude towards teaching, then all what we are talking is meaningless. Meaningless. So, in order to get meaning out of what we are doing, it is very important to have value, to have a positive attitude towards our practices, towards our profession. So, reflective teaching requires attitude of open-mindedness. Don't forget, when you are open-minded, then you understand you are not a complete person. Always you raise question. Always you are uncertain. Always you question everything. You ask everything. So you will be in a state of uncertainty. So that is very important. Open-mindedness is essential here. The other is responsibility. No? Responsibility. We need to be very responsible. We need to be very responsible. Here, teachers' willingness to examine all decisions they are making against different references. Against the different references. If we make decision with a single promise, then that decision may be wrong when we evaluate it against other perspectives, so that we need to be responsible whenever we make decision. What will be the consequence of my decision? Is really the result of this decision benefiting the students or the individuals or the parties against whom that decision is made or not? We have to answer before making that decision. The other important aspect here is which is related to attitude is wholeheartedness. You see, wholeheartedness. Everything of us need to consider our profession. That means the commitment, the level of the commitment towards our profession should be maximal. It should be maximal. Fully committing oneself to seeking better solution to concern is the symptom of wholeheartedness. So there is no greater enemy of effective thinking than divided interest. You know, if our interest is divided, then that interest is really the divided interest will hurt our profession, because we will not focus fully on that profession. Therefore, in order to be a reflective practitioner, it is very, very important to be wholeheartedness. All our business need to be our profession. That means towards our profession. So when we deal about characteristics of an effective teacher, a business-like teacher is considered as an effective teacher. That means all the business of that teacher is his profession. So everything he or she doing is for the benefit of the students, for the professional development of herself or himself, so that all our business need to be our profession, our teaching, if we need to be really a reflective practitioner. The fifth characteristics of reflective teaching is teacher judgment. Reflective teaching is based on teachers' judgment informed by evidence-based inquiry. Whenever we judge, whenever we evaluate, we have to be reasonable. In short, we need a reason for everything we do. We need evidence either from our experience, which is not against scientific procedure, or scientific findings, official reports, and others need to be explored in order to make appropriate judgment as teacher. So teacher should be able to draw on and also contribute many sources of evidence and use them to inform their teaching practices. Whenever, not only making a decision, but also when we teach students, we have to prepare ourselves from different angles. We have to prepare ourselves properly for by reading, by maybe listening other sources, so that it is very important. Then what we are teaching will be evidence-based. Evidence-based. The sixth characteristic is learning with colleagues. If you are a reflective practitioner, then you'll enjoy learning with colleagues, discussing with colleagues. This is one of the characteristics of professionals. Discussing. It's not about individuals. Discuss ideas. If you are professional, if you are the would-be teachers, if you are teachers, then your focus needs to be idea, concepts, not individuals. So, reflective teaching professional learning and personal fulfillments are enhanced by dialogue with friends, bringing valuable opportunities to share and compare, support and advise in rhetorical ways, so that uh, uh, aims will be clarified, experience will be shared, language and concept for analyzing practices will be refined if we are dealing with others on issue. The last characteristic of a reflective practitioner as in teaching is enable creative mediation, enabling creative mediation. In here, there are 4 different kinds of creative mediation deployed by teacher to interpret such requirements. One is being able to justify protective mediation to defend existing practices which are greatly valued. We need to have we need to justify protective mediation. The other is engage in innovative mediation by working within the spaces and boundaries provided by new requirements. The third one is contribute to collaborative mediation, whereby externally developed ideas are scrutinized, adapted in mutually supportive environments. It's kind of using external sources like research outcomes, findings, and others. And lastly, even engage in conspirational mediation, where teachers are appreciative systems from the basis of judgment that resistance of implementing external requirements is desired. You see, so this these are the kind of mediation which helps teachers to be a reflective practitioner. So the characteristics of reflective teachings are these 7 ones. We have discussed this one. Dear student, if you have any question, any confusion, if you are not clear about what I was explaining, please take time and jot down your questions. Even you can write here, or you can go to you can take your exercise book and you can just down there. When we meet next time, you will read them and we will have time for discussion. So by this, we are done with the second chapter of Teachers as a Reflective Practitioner course. And next, we are going to deal with some important pointers, and also we will revise from the first and the second units, main aspects of the course. So this will be the end of the session. Thank you so much for being with me. See you next time. Bye.